The new look of Squish Squash Natural Lemon Juice.
You're watching ZTN News Blitz. Good afternoon, I'm Itai Mutiniri. Let's take a look at our top stories. Vaccination cards running out, so we will tell you more. Salary talks, teacher government differ on benefits. Unlicensed driver jailed for running over minor. And in sport, Rhinos out of contention after loss to Eagles. Our COVID-19 vaccination cards running out in Harare. You might have visited some of the vaccination centers in and around the city and could not get the card. To date, over 200,000 people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in Zimbabwe. Well, authorities say limited cards were initially printed and new ones with more complex security features will be rolled out soon. Harare City Council Health Services Director Dr. Prosper Chonzi spoke to ZTN's Munashim Kahlera.
Because we are phasing out the ones that we started with. So we are waiting for the new ones which have more safety features than the first ones. So we are simply improvising and recording whoever comes for vaccination. But the ones that we had printed earlier on without the necessary barcodes, those ones are in short supply. Yeah, but once these ones that have all the features are there, I think they are going to mass produce them.
As salary negotiations between government and its workers continue dragging, government says it will now expedite provision of non-monetary benefits to its workers. Last week, government workers rejected a 25% increment. Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare Minister Professor Paul Mavima says provision of housing stands will be done soon.
You see, the challenge that we have is actually where land is concerned. The unions don't want government to initiate, but government is pushing along with it. The Minister of Housing and Social Amenities is about to roll out a very comprehensive housing development program. Part of which is going to target the civil servants and teachers in particular. But the unions don't want government to take the lead. They want to be allocated land so that they can receive directly from their members, the contributions towards that land. But we have had experiences where that money disappears as soon as it hits the account of the union.
However, unions say they do not want the project politicized. Progressive Teachers Union of Zimbabwe Secretary General Raymond Majongwe speaks.
The issue of housing, it has always been on the table. But the most important point is, how do we move forward? Government comes up with a project and politicians and their relatives benefit out of it. If it's going to be transparent, let's sit down, call all unions for a meeting, we debate, we discuss these issues, put our proposals on the table and we go forward. This issue of people sitting in their own rooms and coming up with recommendations that we know that will not benefit us will not work. If government is honest and sincere, let us sit down, let us put down a framework.
Zimta Chief Executive Spiso Ndlovu had this to say.
And right now, when you ask government what policy they have for civil servants and how many houses will they be giving out or will they be selling to the civil servants, they don't have a clear-cut answer to that. So clearly the program is not anywhere near fruition, and therefore it's an idea which has remained on the table. It's only resuscitated when government is under pressure and the civil servants are demanding an increase in salaries, and then they use it as an alternative route to palliate the atmosphere. We're not going to take that very lightly. They say unions are refusing. It's not true. What we have done as unions, we have demonstrated the willingness of the teachers to sacrifice the little earnings they have in order to get a roof above their head. No union can substitute a state when it is going to give that kind of benefit. The state has to take a responsibility, but it must set up the correct infrastructure.
Public Service Workers Association spokesperson Gibson Mushango speaks.
We are not striking, but we will only do what is commensurate with what we are getting right now. So we need our jobs, as I said earlier, but what we are getting right now will only allow us to serve our duty twice a week. And it is up to the government to ensure that if it needs service delivery to be swift, if it needs the continuity in all the public service sectors, it will be able to address the issue of capacitation on its workforce at the earliest convenience.
After a very unpredictable learning year, students who sat for their ordinary and advanced level examinations will now know how they fared, as ZIMSEC is set to release results in the first week of May. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, ordinary and advanced level students had to start the examinations in December, a month later than the usual time. Ordinary level students finished writing in March. ZIMSEC Board Chairperson Professor Eddie Mwenje speaks.
By 1st of May, we will have produced some results. Very well, yeah. So we will let you know probably will be more firm after the Friday, after independence, will be more firm. You know how it is. But that way we expect that the result and from
Educationist Dr. Peter Kwarira expects the worst pass rate this year following what happened in 2019 and 2020. Those 2 years recorded 37.11% and 46.9% respectively.
But I think the way I look at it myself, I think we're going to have mixed, patterns across the country. Mixed patterns across the country. And a small portion of the population of those people who wrote the examinations is going to be okay by the standards that we have. It's going to be okay by the standards that we have. In the sense that some of them have been, of course, we are talking about extra lessons, we are talking about engaging private institutions for a certain sector of our population. But that's not the majority of the people. If you look at it, I think the way I look at it, I'm expecting some disaster in some quarters of the population, in some areas.
A Harare man who ran over and killed a 9-year-old boy has been sentenced to 4 years in prison. Ashiford Chikoto, who was driving without a valid driver's license, ran over the boy while fleeing from police in Harare Central Business District in December last year. ZTN correspondent Patience Namburu is at the Harare Magistrate. She gives us more.
Well, good afternoon, Itai. At the court today, Harare Magistrate Tendai Muchini found Chikoto guilty of 2 counts. On his first count, he was fined $10,000 for driving without a valid driver's license. And on his second count, he was sentenced to 4 years for capable homicide. Chikoto is banned for life from driving Class 1 or Class 2 vehicles, and he is not to drive Class 4 vehicles for 1 year after his release. In another matter that appeared before the court today, 57-year-old Habib Chakanyuka was found guilty of 2 counts of negligent driving and not rendering assistance after an accident. He was fined $5,000 and $10,000 for 2 counts, respectively. He committed this crime at the corner of Harare Drive in Borodo Road, where he knocked over a 7-year-old girl. Footage from a CCTV camera was then used by the police to track him and arrest him. Back to you, Itai.
A Zimbabwean court has ordered the deportation of 28 Malawi nationalists who were rounded up over the weekend. The men are guilty of breaching Zimbabwe's immigration laws. The 28 were raided at a house where they were hiding in Beitbridge town while waiting to proceed to South Africa. ZTN Beitbridge correspondent Tupeo Mlea gives us more.
28 Malawian border jumpers who were rounded up on Saturday while hiding at a house in Beitbridge are now facing deportation to their country after a local court found them guilty of violating Zimbabwe's immigration laws. The group of men aged between 18 and 29 years was raided in Kwalutu suburbs, which is formerly known as Felanda-Honye. The gang were hauled up at the house pending illegal transportation to South Africa. They were busted by a team comprising police officers and officers from the Department of Immigration's Compliance and Enforcement Section. Bedbridge resident magistrate Mr. Twende Bijo convicted the illegal immigrants on their own plea of guilty on Monday afternoon. He warned and cautioned them before ordering that they be deported to their native country. The arrest is part of a crackdown on illegal migration and related activities, which is being rolled out by border officials. This follows the resurfacing of syndicates using fake customs and immigration stamps to clear goods and travelers in and out of the country through Bedbridge border post. State allegations that the group entered the country illegally on 9 April and were transported to Bedbridge in a truck that left them at a house where they were later raided on the following day on Saturday. For Zimbabwe's Radio News in Bedbridge, I'm Tublongle.
Botswana is investigating the deaths of 2 people who had been given doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine to see if there is any link. The country's health ministry said the 2 deaths were of elderly people but did not elaborate. The Southern African country has so far administered about 31,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the only vaccine it has started rolling out. The Democratic Republic of Congo has announced a new cabinet. It gives President Felix Tshisekedi full control of the government and ends a leadership struggle with his predecessor Joseph Kabila. The new Sacred Union of the Nation government includes 14 women. Kabila stepped down in January 2019 but continued to retain control of the several key ministries, including the legislature, judiciary and security services. Japan says it will release more than 1 million tons of contaminated water from the ruined Fukushima nuclear power station back into the sea. The decision has drawn condemnation from China, South Korea and environmental groups. The work to release the water will begin in about 2 years and is expected to take decades. The announcement of the plan comes 10 years after the nuclear power station was devastated in a tsunami triggered by one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. A Brendan Taylor Masterclass 100 wasn't enough for Rhinos to avoid another heartbreaking season. They lost to Eagles by 6 wickets in the 2020 match at Old Hararians. With this defeat, their season is effectively over. Opening the batting, Taylor scored an entertaining 170 off 78 balls. Rhinos went on to post 194 for the loss of 1. Eagles made light work of the chase led by inform Regis Chikava, who finished off the job started by Tinashe Kamunukamwe and Wesley Madevere as Eagles recorded a comfortable win with 20 balls to spare. Meanwhile, attention will be on rising star Tafadzwa Marumani again in the Rocks Mountaineers match at Old Hararians this afternoon. The left-handed batsman leads the batting standings with 123 runs in 2 innings with a strike rate of 123. Marumani has 2 50s in a row and all eyes will be on him today. Will he make it to number 3? You can follow the match on our website ztn.co.zw. Moving on, Harare Sports Club is expected to have its facilities inspected this week as the return of rugby draws closer. As mandated by the Sport and Recreation Commission, sports codes should be guided by the COVID-19 regulations before resumption of competitions. We get more on this from ZTN correspondent Lance Shehande.
Well, exciting news for a lot of rugby players out there. Harare Sports Club will be one of the first clubs to get an inspection from SRC ahead of their training proposal to the SRC itself. It is what the SRC wanted, it is what the Ministry of Sport wanted, and Harare Sports Club is going through those procedures, getting their training facilities checked, as well as their changing rooms and technical areas. All of their players are going through testing at the moment. The green light should come anytime this week, and for Sports Club, the boys will be back on the park and the ladies as well.
Some major sports teams in Minnesota, USA have postponed their matches following the death of a black man shot by a police officer on Sunday. 20-year-old Donta Wright was shot in Brooklyn Center, sparking protests which have extended to the sports arenas. NBA's Minnesota Timberwolves, Major League Baseball Minnesota Twins, and the National Hockey League's Minnesota Wild all postponed their Monday matches. And that's all we had for you. Connect with us on our social media platforms, Twitter at ZTN News, Facebook, Simpapers TV Network, Instagram at ZTN. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZTN. You can also visit our website, ztn.co.zw. Thank you for watching.